ChatGPT, we can get on that. That'd be awesome.
Alexa, I actually am part of the Gala Phi Beta sorority. We build strong girls. I love you guys. Huge shout out.
Shout out Chuck Way. I know.
This year, I'm actually a Phi Delta sweetheart, which Chris is part of Phi Delta. I'm their sweetheart this year, and I'm super excited. Couple of years!
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna say a couple of months. Yes.
And shout out my little Aiden Spencer. Yeah, I'm not a kin major. I'm a business major.
Are you serious?
You thought I was a kin major?
No, I did. I thought you were a kin major this whole time.
Doesn't it sound like I could talk?
One, two, go. And welcome to another episode of the Hilarious Handbook. Today we are talking about
Valeria. We have our fourth guest, Valeria, on here for our fourth episode. She is a second-year kinesiology major at Sonoma State. We've already talked to one kinesiology major so far. And yeah, I mean, we're super happy to have you on this podcast. First of all, where are you from? Are you from around here? Are you from somewhere else?
So I actually live in Marin County, which is maybe half an hour drive down south. And I've grew up there my whole life, lived there my whole life.
Wow.
But I did live in Moscow, which is up in Russia, for a good 3 years. So technically, I've kind of been all over the place, all over the world, but I'm back home as of right now. Just living at home, staying at home. So
wow, that's crazy. And how old were you when you lived in Moscow?
I lived there with my grandma, so I was 13, 14, and 15. And I kind of lived by myself, too, during those years.
Wow.
A couple of times because,
crazy.
You know.
Yeah, no, you're our first guest that's lived outside of the U.S. And I feel like, especially at like 13, 14, 15, that's like, you know, if you're, I'm sure, you know, you did extracurriculars, whether it be sports, whether it be some kind of club and all. I feel like in the sports realm, those years are like the most pivotal because it's kind of the bridge between, you know, say this beginner like rec level and then maybe the more competitive level. And I feel like and in school too, I feel 100%. Like in school, it's kind of like those are the toughest years because they're adjusting years.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's even harder if you're, you know, in a new country. Do you speak Russian?
I do. I'm fluent in Russian. I can speak, write, read, everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is it your first language or is English still, if you could give a first language, which?
My first language was Russian. I learned English when I was 4.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't like, you know, I was speaking both. No, I learned Russian first, and then I learned English, which is very interesting to a couple of people.
I was gonna. Is Russian a hard language to learn, or is it kind of?
It's actually considered to be one of the hardest languages to learn because we do have 32 letters, and it's a lot of I think it's 32 actually, if I'm being honest. I can say the alphabet.
Go.
Ready? A, B, V, G, D, E, J, Ž, Z, I, kratka K, L, M, N, O, P, R, S, T, U, F, H, C, Č, Š, Š, tvrd znak I, mjaki znak E, Ju, Ja.
That sounded like 32 letters. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I don't know what it is, but anyone that can speak any other language, it could be it's like a language a lot of people learn, like French or Spanish, but it could also be something like Russian. It's just like, oh my gosh, like I wish I had learned a language sooner. Like my first language was Mandarin.
Really?
Yeah, my first language was Mandarin. I didn't learn English until I was about 3 or 4, actually. When I moved to the United States, it was a lot harder to adjust. But ever since learning English, my Mandarin has basically left. Like in elementary school and everything, the language was Mandarin. So we had half the day, the morning courses would be taught in English. After lunch, the afternoon session would be taught in Mandarin. And so that was K through 2nd or 3rd grade for me. Mm-hmm. But then after that, and I moved to Idaho, all of my Mandarin completely out the window. Like, and now it's like, I can understand maybe like certain phrases, but it's very, very limited. And I regret not like trying to keep it
up. Exactly.
there.
Like that's the hardest thing is just keeping up. If you learn a language, keeping up is like a big factor up from it.
No, exactly. But that's awesome. I mean, you know, living in Russia and everything, I feel like that's a lot different from living here in terms 100%. Of just the lifestyle wise.
100%. Definitely. Like, no doubt.
Right. No, and
no doubt.
We don't have to go into the politics of that because voting day is coming up. We can push all the politics aside to that day. But moving on, I mean, Marin, pretty close to Sonoma. Do you commute or do you like live
I
on
do
campus?
commute, actually. I do commute every single morning. It is a little bit difficult, if I'm being honest. Like, the driving really gets to me, but I feel like it's nice because I'm able to kind of, in a sense, still live like two different worlds.
Okay,
So I have like my school life, and then like I'm at home. So it's not like
exactly.
it's not like
Yeah,
I'm being very limited in things, but it depends. And certain days, certain times, it's like I want to be at school, like with all my friends, but then, and that's like the only limiting part. But other than that, it's pretty,
it's pretty nice.
it's
And I
really
think that's
nice.
an advantage to living off campus, whether it be because you commute or you have a house with some of your friends. I feel like if you live on campus, even when you're done with class and you go back to say like your dorm, you don't technically physically leave the university.
You
You know,
don't, you're
you're still
still
there
in there.
and you're
Exactly.
surrounded by people that are probably in your classes. And so like for you at least, if you commute, I can't like what is it like an hour, 30 minutes,
30 minutes,
30 minutes.
like
So,
40.
you are able to like literally the minute you're done with class, like separate yourself from that environment, school and everything. And
Exactly.
I think that that's also like I feel like people who live off campus have an easier time, I guess, separating the two than people who live on campus.
Definitely. So it's like living two different worlds. Like, I'm just actually thinking
Right.
about this right now. I never thought about this, but living two different worlds. I'm thinking way too much into it right now. To be honest, I'm
No, I know
thinking
I know what you mean though. I know
exactly.
what you mean. It
There
makes
you go.
sense.
Perfect.
And so why did you choose Sonoma? Was it because it was such an easy like 30-minute commute? Or
Well, the reason I chose Sonoma is because I am planning on going into med school, but we can get into that a little
wow.
later. And basically, the reason I chose Sonoma, I got into all the schools I applied to. I had so many options, really good options, but I decided to stay close to my family. First of all, because I did live 3 years in Moscow, and I felt like I missed out on a lot of like the time spending with my parents, my siblings. And another one was definitely financial reasons, and that's why I also commute, because going into med school, which is extremely expensive these days, I feel like it would be first of all a good financial.
Oh, I bet you're saving a bunch of money than had you gone somewhere else.
100%, no doubt in that. And then second of all, I'm close with my family. Third of all, like I'm meeting a lot of people who, because I feel like people who go to Sonoma State are pretty kind of localish, like an hour away, like 2 hours away. So a lot of the
14
people.
hours away?
Okay, well you're an exception on this one. You're an exception on this one. But like it still feels like I'm still in college, but my circle of friends and like the connections I'm building are still like in this area, but just maybe a couple of hours, maybe up north, east, south. So they're like very, very close by. And I actually really, really like that.
And I think that helps with Sonoma. I think one, you're right. There's a lot of local, even if it's like say San Francisco, you're
Exactly.
still an hour away.
Exactly.
And on top of that, the school is so like compared to a lot of universities, 4-year universities. It's a very small school, and
It
you
is.
can make those connections. Like you can walk around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're on campus, and it's like, oh, I know that person, and not only do I just know them, like I've actually like gone and talked to them, and like have been able to like talk about class or something that's going on in life. Whereas, say, some place like Texas Tech, for example, a really big university, I guarantee it's like you go and you see one person, you never see them again the rest of your time there.
Exactly. But here, it's like you always see the same people, and you start building such a close circle in the university with multiple people. And I feel like that's going to help a lot with further connections, life in general. And I don't know, I think it's just like a really good way of meeting people, staying close with people, and just those people might help you succeed in
Yeah,
life.
exactly. And I think Sonoma is a really big business school. However, you are not one of those business majors. You
I'm
decided to
not.
take a little bit of a more difficult route. I don't know. I'm sure it's the same in terms of credits, but in terms of the difficulty of the classes, I'm sure you've probably experienced all that already. The
I have
classes get harder. Kinesiology, it's one of the, I would say this, outside of business, it is one of the more common majors I hear
in Sonoma
here
State.
at Sonoma State. However, my experience, you don't ever talk to a Ken major without them saying, "Oh my gosh, this one class, the amount of
I
work."
can say that exact class that usually everyone is.
Exactly.
Guys, it's anatomy.
It's anatomy. Don't take. Well, it's a
No, no,
required course. All right, you have to take it if you're a Ken major.
You have to take it.
And it's like, what is it? The material that's hard, or is it more so the workload that's hard?
I feel like anatomy in general is a very difficult class, no matter where you're going to be taking it. But I feel like it also really depends on how you pursue that class. So if you're not able to fully because I know people that are in the class right now who are doing really like are extremely successful right now, it's the time commitment. For example, any class you take, you can pass, you can get an A in that class no matter what. But I feel like it really depends on the person and how committed they are to take that class, how much time they're willing to spend taking that class and learning about it. Because once you learn it, it's going to stick with you for the rest of your life, and it's going to really help you, for example, getting into schools, like building connections off of that, because you're going to understand what's being talked about.
And it's more so you talk about when you say time into the class, right? Obviously, because how long is this class?
It's an hour and a half on Mondays and on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's not a lot, but there's also labs. So in general, maybe in total in a week is about 6 hours of just that class.
And that's just
throughout the week.
And that's just in like I'm sure there's work outside of the class.
Oh, there technically what we've been told is a good if you spend 30 hours studying out of class time, 30 hours throughout the week to study for the class, you're going to be able to pass with an A. And it sounds like an insane amount, which it is, but I feel like it just really depends on the person and how willing they are to fully commit. But right now, so far, we're doing okay. But I know going into med school, planning on going to med school, I'm probably going to try and get an A in that class. Because right now we're pulling off at a B right now.
Wow. Oh, shout out Chuck Guay. I know you're in that class too.
Yes.
And shout out my little Aiden Spencer, who took that class last year. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned from people who have taken that class, I'm not taking that class, but
you're a Kin major.
I'm a business major. Yeah, I'm not a Kin major. I'm a business major.
Are you serious?
You thought I was a Kin major?
No, I did. I thought you were a Kin major this whole time.
Doesn't it sound like I could talk about it like I am?
Because I feel like you talk about kinesiology so much.
I'm not a Kin major. I'm not at all a Kin. What? That's an experiment now. I need to go around to every single major and just act like I'm that. I think I could do that now.
100%.
If I fooled you like that, okay. Well, I didn't intentionally.
Because you took bio with me, we had bio together, and I felt like, and I knew a lot of people who took that class were in kin, so I just assumed that you were a kin major because you always talk about it. Interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm a business management major, but
yeah,
I think going back to the amount of time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it also depends on where you choose to like do your work, in the sense of if you go home and do your work, you're going to be more distracted because you can go make food at any time in the kitchen. The TV's right there. You could literally fall asleep. Like, I personally think, and I'm speaking from a business major perspective where the workload isn't as heavy, if you go to the library or somewhere on campus, you get a lot more work done because there's literally nothing else to do in the library. You are forced to actually get the work done. You have no outside distractions.
Interesting.
I have no clue if that's true, but it sounds smart.
For me, I've tried being in the library. I just end up watching movies because it's so quiet, so peaceful,
Really?
no one's distracting me. Yeah. But the most amount of work and the most productive work that I get done is at my friend's house. When I hang out with my friends, we're doing a study session, I'm like, yes, please. Because that's the one time I can actually sit down knowing that it's a different place, different environment, we're all doing homework, and I just get the most amount of work done. I cannot be by myself because if I'm alone, I get distracted so easily.
Really?
Even if I'm in the library, I will get distracted so easily. At home, can't do homework at home.
Oh, yeah.
Can't do it in the library. Can't do it in Stevenson. Sometimes I can. Sometimes I can actually
I don't know about
fully.
Stevenson.
It really depends, but for me, it's at if me and my friends are like, we're doing a study session, we go to her apartment, and I just sit down on the desk. I get so much homework done.
Wow.
So much work. Don't know what it is. It's just I feel like I need to know that someone else is doing it with me, even though it's completely different things, but just someone else is studying with me. That's all I need.
I've never heard that actually, because I feel like, and I'm only speaking from my perspective, but when I was like growing up and I was doing homework with my friends, it would just turn into us like not doing homework.
Really?
Like I'd go over to some of my teammates' houses after practice, and we'd be like, "Oh, we have like an assignment we have to get done," and we all say, after practice we're gonna go get it done, and that usually turns into us going to get Chipotle and not getting that homework done. Now we still turned it in, but it was definitely the time it took to turn it in was a little longer because I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are kind of that way. But for you, I guess that's actually really, I've never heard that like at all.
Interesting. No, but yeah.
But yeah, kind of staying on the topic of kinesiology. I mean, you've already kind of touched on this a little bit about med school, and that's what you want to do.
Yes.
And so yeah, talk about that a little.
Well, basically, I'm a kinesiology major. I'm also minoring in business. So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there you go. I'm
Wow.
minoring in business. And I am planning on going into med school. And my goal with that is I really want to become an orthopedic surgeon. So my goal is to become a surgeon. And I know the path is extremely long, but I'm also minoring in business. And the reason I'm doing that is because I feel like everyone needs to know at least something about, I don't know, financing, accounting, which is the most basic things, because we're always going to be surrounded by, for example, paychecks, because we're working. No matter where you are, you're going to receive a paycheck, and knowing how to properly, how do I say this correctly?
Use the laws of business to make sure you don't get into any economic trouble.
Bingo. There you go.
Everyone needs to understand the laws of business.
100%.
Because it's gonna, even like you mentioned, like paychecks and understanding where your taxes are going.
Exactly, and being able to properly, for example, dispute when you're submitting your taxes, knowing the right things to say, to ask, and to do.
And I think it's nice to just know how to like own a bit, like not necessarily own a business, because not everyone's gonna do that. But it's nice to at least have the foundation to know how to start it. Exactly. And the hardest thing to do when it comes to starting it is, like you said, the logistics. How do you it's one thing to have the idea. It's another thing to financially be able to comply with that idea. And I'm sure for you, like you mentioned being a surgeon and everything. I mean, I've never asked you this, but what if you just opened your own little...
I was actually thinking about that, and that's why I am minoring in business, taking the most basic classes. And I've talked to a lot of throughout the connections, the people I know, the people I've known from the past who are business majors. They have helped me out a lot with choosing the right classes that I should be taking that can help me a lot with just understanding the basics and logistics of finances, accounting, and that sort of area. And in the future, yes, I'm planning on going into med school, but I believe that mixing business and medicine can take someone so far in life.
Oh, 100%.
And I know of people from the East Coast, I know of people who know of people in the East Coast who have done and are extremely successful in those two fields, and they have collided them. And I feel because med school, I'm a sophomore right now in Sonoma State University, and if I'm gonna go into med school and just be a surgeon, I feel like that I counted, it's 13 more years of school. And
13.
Yep. So 2 more years of 2 more years of my undergrad. Then I have 4 years of med school, and then 5 years of residency. 11. So 11 more years.
Wow.
So
that's a lot exactly. That's a long ladder to climb.
Yep, it is. But it's definitely going to be paid. How do I properly say this? It's going to be
tough at times, but the end result is something that you're going to look back on, and you're going to be, one, proud of yourself that you were able to accomplish that, and two, you're going to set yourself up to be financially successful in the future. And at the end of the day, I mean, this is the most important, but you got to be happy with the path you choose. And it sounds like you're really passionate about 100%, this.
Yes.
And like I said, what's that saying called? If it's not What's that saying? No, it's like on the tip of my tongue. It's like
What are you referring to?
it's like if it ain't worth doing, it's not worth doing, right? I don't remember.
I don't know.
It was like right there. I was about to drop some knowledge, but I don't know what that phrase. After this,
You'll
after
probably
we're done,
remember.
I will remember it, and I'll text you, and I'll be like, "That is what I was gonna say," and you're gonna be like, "That would have made so much sense there."
There you go.
Dang it! Anything worth doing is worth doing. No, it's not that.
I don't know.
Dang it!
I have no idea.
Oh, if you don't, if it's not hard, it's probably not worth doing. Is it like? I think that's like a long. Is it not? Are you? Dang it! Now it's gonna be on my mind the rest of the. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. If
Maybe
it's
it
not
is.
hard, it's not worth. If it's not challenging, it's not worth doing. Maybe.
No, it's not the right way to phrase that.
No, I know. There's ChatGPT. We can get on that. That'd be awesome.
Alexa.
Alexa, what is this phrase? Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, you mentioned the East Coast and all, like all those connections out there. And I mean, I don't know if you've like completely thought about where you want to go to med school and everything, but do you see yourself kind of moving away from the West and kind of, I mean, obviously it depends on where everything takes you, but.
Exactly, and that's what I was actually about to say. I have not thought of where I'm planning on going to med school because, first of all, getting into med school is extremely hard. And I feel like at that point, it's like what place takes me, I'll be taking it because you never know. Because what if, I don't know, you get referred to have your residency in California? So honestly, it is like step by step by step. So it's really, really hard to say where I know I'll end up. I know places where I would prefer to end up. For example, I know Florida.
Really?
Yes.
Florida?
Yes.
Big Universal Studios, I guarantee. Is that why? Okay, well, yeah, no.
No, it's not that. No.
It's a little bit of it.
No.
Why is it Florida then?
There's actually one place called Sunny Isles. It's a very like Russian reserved place in Florida,
Really?
and there's a lot of Russian people that live there, and I don't know, a lot of people.
It'd be nice to
family,
live there.
friends.
Nice.
Exactly, yeah.
That is a long trip away from Marin County now.
Well, technically it is. Well, did you know that a drive to Florida, I believe, is like a day and 23 hours? So it's like 2 full days.
Is it only that?
I'm going to search it up now.
But that's if you drive with no stops, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
So
technically,
really,
it's like a week long trip.
Okay, I was gonna say, but if you are able to just please, we don't recommend this, by the way, take breaks. But I mean, yeah, I think because I remember one of my friends, he moved to Florida, but okay, he moved from Idaho to Florida. So and that was, I think he said like 6 days. And I'm sure they actually like found a place to like stop.
100%. 100%. Yes.
That's crazy. I didn't realize if it was like a full on just you drove and you didn't have to worry about gas or anything else. A day and 23 hours, you said?
Well, that's 2 days pretty much. Like 1 hour at this point. It's like nothing.
Crazy. Really?
At least the last time I searched it up, which was like a couple of years ago. But as of like from what I remember, yes.
That's a fun fact, actually. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Exactly right.
It makes this country look a lot smaller now.
Yay!
Which. Okay, this is going to sound really... Anyways.
Uh-huh.
So basically what we were saying is, you have all this, like, time that you spend on school. Do you have time for, like, say, a job or maybe extracurricular activities?
I do, yes. So this semester, I'm going to be working as a CNA at a hospital, which is going to be exciting, but the shifts are going to be 12 hours. It's going to be a lot. And, like, also throughout the week I help my coach out with little kids with rhythmic gymnastics because that was like my sport that I grew up with. Yeah, so it's kind of like 2 jobs. Sometimes I babysit like once in a while, but that I don't consider that like
a job.
It's
exactly. Not a full-time thing.
No.
Yeah.
But technically I just have 2, and then I'm taking 20 units, and then I commute, hang out with friends if I have time. I try to make as much time, so my days are literally.
That's crazy. You're always just busy.
100%. Yes, it's true all the time.
Well, I think you mentioned, you said rhythmic gymnastics was your sport growing up.
Yes.
I don't know if any of the viewers watching this know the difference between rhythmic gymnastics and, like, I guess just gymnastics. And I know this.
Let me hear.
I'm actually pretty knowledgeable with gymnastics.
Okay.
I did gymnastics.
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh. I'm sure not a lot of people knew that either. Yeah, I did gymnastics for a couple years.
Couple of years.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say a couple of months.
No, a couple
years.
A couple years. I have ribbons. I have ribbons to prove it.
You did rhythmic?
Ribbons.
Yeah.
Like prizes, like awards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I don't know where they are anymore, but yeah, I know a little bit of it. I know like the rings, and I know like there's a lot of what are the like floor. I guess I didn't do beam. Vault. Bars, and then one other one. I was really young when I did it. I don't remember what the other one was called. What's that like thing where like there's two and they spin around it? I think it's like a men's event.
It is a men's event. It is.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly
right?
what you're talking about. Exactly.
So I mean, my knowledge is there, but it's not. But what's the difference? I'm sure they're different. First of all,
100%. Yes, they are. And the difference between regular gymnastics, which is how we call it, artistic gymnastics, and rhythmic gymnastics. So rhythmic gymnastics is more dedicated towards like ballet, dance, flexibility, like very like detailed sport. And we have a floor and we have different apparatuses. So with artistic gymnastics, it's different events. Whereas rhythmic gymnastics is like you have a carpet and you have different apparatuses. And what I mean by apparatuses is that we have ball, we have hoop, we have clubs, ribbon, rope, and we have just floor. So it's six different types of performances that we can do. But at a high level, we only actually do hoop, ball, clubs, and ribbon. Those are the 4 routines that we do.
Wow. And those are like when you say like a ball, right? Are you like throwing the ball in the air, or is it like more like a juggling kind of thing?
So with that, we have a routine and we have to we have like rules that we have to follow. So we have 6 different elements which refer to like the flexibility. You have to do hard elements. Then we have tosses, which is like we throw the ball. We have different masteries, for example, tricks with the ball that you have to do throughout the routine.
Wow.
And the harder the tricks, the more you do of them, the harder the elements are, the higher score you're going to get. And besides all that, like you have to have your toes pointed, your knees, like everything has to be detailed, like to the detail. Like It's a very detailed sport, extremely. And also the costumes are very pretty.
Wow.
Rhinestones.
So what do you think is like one of the hardest tricks that you have either been able to do, or like a really hard trick that like you've seen someone else be able to do?
Well, it's not like tricks. I feel like you kind of...
Or stunts, or...
I don't even know. I feel like it just depends, because the routines are 1.5 minutes long. And for example, so it's not too long, but all I'm going to say, when I was practicing, I would try one of my friends' routine who was considered like, the routine was considered to be very difficult. And then I would be doing my routine, and I feel like it's the rhythm and the speed of the routine that you're doing, because you have to catch the ball. Because if you drop it,
then that's deduction.
Yeah. Exactly. So the main idea is for you to have a clean routine, and having 1.5 minutes of full tricks, risks. That's what we call them, like tosses. We call them risks because you're risking the ball of throwing it. Like we catch it upside down in our feet. We would catch it with with behind our backs, like with our backs. So like no vision. So that's like where the difficulty comes in, is like the risking, like you're risking the ball when you're doing something. So that's how every single apparatus is.
And how heavy is this? I can't imagine if you're like able to catch and still be able to go with your routine. I can't imagine the ball's like too heavy.
It's not too heavy, actually. I think it's not. It cannot be a pound. No, I actually don't know.
Really, it's not even a pound?
I don't think it's a pound. Maybe it is. Maybe it's like 0.987 grams. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I have no idea, if I'm being honest.
Huh? Yeah. No. I mean, I didn't even know that there was all those. Like the ribbons, the balls, what were the other ones?
Clubs.
Clubs.
Clubs are basically like bowling pins.
Okay, I was thinking that's
a
what
lot of people think that, but they do look a little bit more different. But the idea of the shape of it is kind of similar, if that makes sense.
So what's harder, clubs or the ball?
I love the ball. Well, for me, no, for everyone actually in general, ball is considered to be the hardest because it's circular, and if you drop it, it just rolls off.
Oh yeah,
It rolls
that's I was
off
gonna say yeah.
and it's done. You're done for it. But sometimes you can embellish with your other routines, but it really depends. But for me, I think because clubs, there's two of them,
Mm.
so we do different tosses with two of the clubs, and there's a lot of juggling. So it's like
And
you guys would have to look.
if you drop the club, it just stays on the floor, right? You can
It stays.
easily.
It could bounce off somewhere, but it's
Okay.
not going to roll off like the ball. So
Wow, that's actually crazy. And that's, I mean, you grew up playing, or I guess performing
yeah,
rhythmic gymnastics.
I did for 12 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy. And you still are kind of helping out
it
with
is. I
that
really wanted to
now.
stay in the sport and just see how it goes. Yeah,
Wow.
but
And I mean, you got that. You mentioned this to me once. What was it?
oh, Civil Air Patrol.
Civil Air Patrol. There it is. So
Yes.
talk about that, because I feel
Oh,
like you have a lot of like experience in a lot of different hobbies.
yes. Well, Civil Air Patrol is basically a leadership organization. I've met a lot of like this is where I was able to build like a very strong leadership position and being connected to sergeants, captains, like more like towards like the government area, like that really helped me realize on the different connections and how careful and like what you say, who you're talking to, like made me realize. And we obviously it's we also fly planes. I've flown a C-130 at
Wow.
which is one of the best experiences, but for me was definitely more leaning towards like the leadership and the knowledge of public speaking, being able to keep a conversation going, and just knowing those people really helped me out with where I am right now. I think
Wow.
I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a lot different, I'm sure, from like rhythmic gymnastics and everything. But
Oh,
that
definitely.
leadership thing, it really just it. I guess it doesn't. It doesn't make you grow up faster, but you learn to like have those mannerisms a lot quicker than a lot of people, I would say, who are your age, aren't involved in something. And not
100%.
even just that, like just another, like it could be a sport, it could be like some kind of other activity, like Boy Scouts, I guess, is a good example for a lot of people out
Yes.
there. But it helps you build, it helps you grow. And yeah, no, that's awesome. So I mean, that's a couple of the things you do. Are you involved in anything like, Sonoma State wise? Because I mean, the last couple guests I've had, um Caleb had mentioned he was in a fraternity. I know Maddie, a couple, the last episode mentioned that she was in a sorority. Are you in any kind of like club or, Greek life organization like that?
Yes, I actually am part of the Gamma Phi Beta sorority. Um, we build strong girls. I love you guys. Huge shout out. And I'm also part of the Alpha Gamma. I believe it's called. It's this leadership organization in school. I believe it's called Alpha. I think it's Alpha Gamma Delta, Alpha Gamma, some Alpha Delta Gamma, something. I think it's Alpha Delta Gamma. It's like this leadership organization. Not a lot of people actually know about this, but
Yeah,
I was
I was gonna say I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
what that
but
is.
it's not the sorority Alpha Delta Gamma, but I believe
It's just like you.
it's a leadership
Okay.
organization that has three letters, and it's basically also towards connections, like public speaking. And I was actually given an award last semester for being part of it because you have to have a certain GPA for it, and it was actually an honor being given a
Wow.
certificate and a pin. So, and we'll see
Look
how
at
things go
that.
with that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's been your favorite memory on I guess what is it, like Gamma Phi Beta? Is that what it was?
Yes.
So like, what's been your favorite memory with that? Because I know a lot of people like they're really scared to like, I guess, rush Greek life in general. I know for me, like I never thought I would do that. I always had this kind of set mindset, like this is what they're about. Like I'm not like, I would never join. Like my mind was focused on sports coming here. But obviously, there's still some memories. There's stuff that also just the amount of work and stuff and the kind of professionalism that I feel goes unnoticed from the outside.
100%.
Like, what would you say you're like? Well, either something you've learned or like a favorite memory you've had.
In my sorority
Yeah,
or just college in general?
let's go sorority for
Sorority.
now.
Okay. Well, for me, it was definitely the reason why I joined and wanted to be part of Greek life is because of just getting to know people, connections. Once again, that word keeps coming up because that's just really how things are. But The reason why I joined is because I also commute, and for me, it would have been just like going to school, classes, and back home, going to work. And here it just gives me this like small little opening onto, like more of like a college life. And Sonoma is a small school, so it's very, gives me that like opening towards like college and everything. But one of the best memories I have, and like why I love like Greek life in Sonoma in general, like speaking from, I feel like in every sorority, in any fraternity, I feel like it's the connection and the friendships you start building.
Oh,
Like for some
100%,
reason, like
100%.
I would have never thought that I would have met the people that I've met, and they're one of the most closest people to me as of right now. And I believe that it's just the people on how genuine and how kind they are. And I feel like anything we do together just always creates like a small little core memory, and it's going to be like somewhere in the back of my mind. This is like a chapter in my life. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think to your point exactly, it's been my kind of knowledge that these relationships that you build, especially in Greek life, it's really nice, especially if you played sports growing up, and because that was your network, that was your
Yes,
outlet. That's
exactly.
how some people made friends. That's where their connections were. And sometimes when you graduate high school, it's kind of like kind of lose a lot of that because you all go your own separate paths. A lot of people say that the connections you build in college tend to stick a lot longer because you build one a more genuine and professional connection with them, and two, you're going straight from there to whatever you do after college. Those connections tend to be a little stronger, I would say. um
And what a funny story
yeah.
is that like I know, well, not a funny story, but like just talking
Right.
about college in general is, for example, you might be from the exact same, for example, you might be from Marin and there's another person from Marin, and you
Mm.
both end up going to Sonoma State, and then like you meet each other like, oh my goodness, like where are you
Right.
from? And I'm like, oh, like I'm from Marin. And all of a sudden it's like we're like over like 18, 20, and like you've never met this person in your life, and they're from the exact same town that you are, and that's like when friendships really start to bond, because first of all you're creating really big core memories with
Right.
them, and then from there on it's just like, I don't know, it just really helps out.
And you never probably would have met them otherwise, to be honest.
Yep,
And
exactly
you could
right.
have been from the same hometown. I mean, I've my freshman year, there was one person who went to my high school actually.
Wow.
They graduated that year, but I had no clue about that until I joined my fraternity. Which, I mean, I don't know if do you interact with the fraternities on campus, or is it kind of more so you stick within your kind of circle with your sorority?
So yes, I actually am. This year I'm actually a Find Out Sweetheart, which Chris is part of Find Out. I'm their sweetheart this year, and I'm super excited because I don't know, it's just something about that group of people that just really stood out to me. Their philanthropy, which was cystic fibrosis, by the way,
Which, yes,
and
it was cystic fibrosis, teeter totter.
teeter
We
totter.
have two philanthropies, one each semester, and so yeah, we've enjoyed having you as our sweetheart.
Thank you.
And yeah, super happy you decided to apply. I'm gonna be honest. When I first told you about it, I didn't know if you were actually gonna do it.
Because I actually did tell you, and I was like, I don't know if I should do it. Like, I'm scared.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then you're like, no, Valeria, do it.
yeah,
You
a
should
hundred
do it.
percent.
And I'm like, okay,
I gave you the
let's
same.
see.
I gave you the same little spiel about Greek life, did I not?
You did. He was actually the one that got me into Greek life, and just
Wow.
meeting everyone is so, yes, just
Yeah.
you.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, like it seems like you are already like you have so many different outlets and all.
I read an article. I have two fun facts that I can give you. I'm a big Porsche fan. Love Porsches. We're a completely different topic.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes.
say, what is that, like a music genre,
No.
like a little,
No, no, no,
like a
no, no,
song?
no, no, no. But basically, house music, I read an article about, and house music is considered to be extremely therapeutic to a lot of people. And it
Mm,
helps a lot of people because I feel like it's the beats and the idea of the music. It's not maybe the words, but I
okay.
think it's the vibe you receive from that type of music. And for
Mm.
some reason, like my friends were like, oh my goodness, like Blair, you have to listen. And I put a lot of my friends onto it. And like, I absolutely love it. But very off topic right now. Fun fact: there's a museum. There's a museum in Europe, and there is a Porsche that is upside down, right? And fun fact about a Porsche. Ready? If it goes 348.7 miles per second squared, it'll be able to drive upside down. Did you know that?
If it can go 348.7 miles an hour.
In that, like,
Oh,
347.8, like, in
340.
that speed,
Really?
miles,
It can go upside down.
it can be driving upside down
As in it's just like floating?
because of the speed of the car, and it's, what is it, carbon fiber? Carbon fiber. It's made out of carbon fiber. The speed and the force and the friction that it's receiving from, that's like what technically what's been proven. It's an article, guys. Don't get me wrong.
I was
it's
gonna
not
say
a fact.
I need to see this.
I would also
to believe it. I'm
yes,
sorry, but
I would too. But think about the speed. 300.
yeah, I don't think you can get it to that speed.
Exactly. I think it's meters.
Maybe the one that's upside down in Europe was going at that speed, and it still hasn't come down yet.
I guess. Anyways, yeah, that's just, I don't know what I thought about that.
That's actually pretty. Do you know? I can guarantee I know what country this museum is in. Switzerland, Germany, really?
I don't know, actually.
I think it's Switzerland. 100% it's Switzerland.
Maybe.
Don't even need to Google it. I'm that right. It's in Switzerland.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Maybe. I actually don't know, if I'm being honest, where it is, but it's in a museum.
I just know there's a giant car museum in Switzerland. That's
okay, then probably.
the only thing I'm going off of right now.
There you go.
But going back to music, I'm sure you can tell looking at that wall.
Yeah, and I've been looking at it, and I'm not a big country fan, if I'm being honest. No.
That's awkward. Really not a big. Have you given country a try?
I have. I do have a kind of like I do have a playlist, and there's quite a bit of like country songs, but it's very like.
Really? Oh, but it's like slower country.
It's like, and I wouldn't even consider it country, if I'm being honest. Like, it's very just like the vibe. Like, I can't just be like a guitar. Like,
really?
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of different kinds of country. There's slower country. You know, like.
I think I'm more of like on the slower country.
Yeah, slower country is pretty good. I mean, obviously pop country. Everyone knows pop country. But yeah, that's kind of my little realm. I think my favorite one right now is Chase Rice. Not a lot of people know of him, but
yeah, no, never heard.
His music's really, really catchy. But like I said, it's not really your traditional country. It's not like Willie Nelson or anything, which is probably what a lot of people go to, or Kenny Chesney or something like that.
Never heard of that.
But you're really not a country person, huh?
Oh, my music taste is all over the place. So if you're gonna come up to me and ask me what I'm listening to, it'll be the most random thing. So.
Honestly, I think that's a lot of people though. It's like if you go to the most average person, and it'll be like, "Oh, my music taste is very like diverse, except for country." That's what everyone says. They're like, "I can listen to anything except country."
I can listen to country. It's not like I'm completely back. No, but I definitely prefer more of like, I'm a big house person. And then I'll be at 7 in the morning. I'm driving to class, and I'll be listening to some house music, like blasting it in my car. I love it. Best feeling ever. It wakes me up. But like a lot of Russian music. Actually, quite a bit of country right now. But I think it's like slow country. I don't know if you know of one song, but it's like just like Late Night Drives. That's my place.
Yeah,
that's the name of the place.
I'm that, and then K-pop. I'm a K-pop. I can listen to K-pop, and not just because I'm Asian.
Not me.
But yeah, I'm very kind of borderline. Like some days country, reggae, K-pop, rap, maybe something in between. I don't know.
I forgot about rap. I haven't heard rap in a really long time, actually.
Really? I feel like rap's just kind of like, it's a good, like if you're going to the gym, I guess it's good. You know, for me, there's always a different kind of genre of music. So like if I'm in the gym, rap. If it's before like a baseball game, country. But anyways, we're about to wrap up. The last thing I always do with every podcast is I ask the guest for what advice they would give to someone that's, you know, in college right now. Because, you know, as much as we can go on tangents about other stuff, this ultimately at the end of the day, like it's a college kind of based podcast. You know, how to I mean, every guest I've had so far has been in college. I'm trying to get a guest that's graduated, and I actually do have a guest coming on that is a graduate. But anyways, yeah, what's a piece of advice you could give to a college student?
Something I would say is that keep your mind open.
Mm.
Be willing to make and meet make as much connections as possible, meet as many people as possible, because you never know where those people can help you out in life. For example,
Wow.
you might meet them like yesterday, and then just staying friends with them, seeing them, being very open and like willing to give that person a try to like be your friend and you never know where that person might end up in, and that person might have something or someone they know of that can help you be the most successful person in life.
Wow. I think my advice for the week, and that's a really good one actually, because like you said, the people you know now, you probably didn't think you know half of them.
Exactly.
And my advice for the week, kind of staying on, the biggest thing we talked about this episode was just all these other activities you have. How do you have time for it? My biggest piece of advice is get on top of your schoolwork. And it sounds like anyone can tell you that.
But it's very true.
But here's the routine that you should do. If you have a 3-day weekend, meaning you only have classes Monday through Thursday, make sure your to-do list on Canvas, if you use Canvas for your college, is make sure your to-do list on Canvas is cleared out by 7 o'clock every Thursday night. If you have class on Friday, move it back a day for Friday. But what that does is it gives you a goal saying, this is when I need to have all my assignments done.
100%.
And come 7 o'clock on, say, Thursday or Friday, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't want it to be like, oh, your friends are going out and you have to say no because you have to do his assignment, right?
Yes.
That's the thing. You got to have that kind of balance.
School is priority, because
Exactly.
in this world, without a college degree, it can be very difficult to be successful. And that's where I feel like both of our advices actually correspond in a sense, that build connections, stay on top of your school, and be the most successful person ever.
And then it also gives you time, if you do that and you stay on top of it, you're going to free up a lot more time outside of school to go do stuff like, go hang out with your friends.
Or plan a trip to, I don't know, like Florida or something.
What is it? Idaho. Florida? Yeah, I don't know if anyone's going to be planning a trip to Idaho. But yeah, anyways, thank you again for coming on.
Of course, anytime.
And yeah.